This is Creepy and Geeky. Welcome. I'm your host, Robert, and my guest today is Bradley Steele Harding. Bradley is an author, filmmaker, and entertainment journalist for Fangoria, Blumhouse.com, Daily Grindhouse, and Screen Rant, among others. He's also the panel coordinator for Texas Frightmare Weekend. Today, he joins me to talk about his upcoming low-budget first feature film, 13 Tracks to Frighten Agatha Black. Welcome to the show, Bradley.
Thanks, Robert. I'm happy to be here. Still a little new to the interview thing, so
I believe this is
how
actually
entertaining
my first
I will be, but I'm going to try.
Okay. I'm sure you'll be plenty. I'm sure you'll be plenty entertaining. So,
okay. Well, we're going to give it a go. But I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. Well, Preston Fossil, our mutual friend, introduced us, and he said you had a new movie coming out, and that you wanted to do some press for it, and I was more than happy to give it a watch and have you on and talk about the movie in general. We don't want to. Normally, I'm okay with doing spoilers on movies, but this time I don't want to do spoilers because I want people to go ahead and see the movie when it releases. So, and what day does that movie release?
December 13th. So terrific date for, I think, for the film.
December 13th.
As random as everything is. It's all a little fuzzy. This entire journey, it's all a little fuzzy. Having an independent movie and trying to sell it. Just getting it made is difficult. Then after it's made, it's sort of like you find a distributor and just like rolling dice. It's like, okay, well, they're going to help me with this. How will this play out? It's because it's all online. I'm not like sitting at a table with these people and we're discussing, marketing strategy and what's going to happen. It's just sort of like, well, here's my film. I hope you're fair with it. I hope
Right.
So there hasn't been a lot of communication on my end, is what I'm saying. So I'm excited that it's coming out on December 13th, but there hasn't been a lot of, discussion about a rollout and the marketing.
Right.
So it's all a little. I'm excited about it. I'm glad that the film will finally, see some more eyes upon it. So that's a great thing. And I'm, grateful for anyone who wants to discuss it.
Right. So let me get you to do a plot synopsis, a short plot synopsis for us, for anybody who's interested.
Okay, this is always the hard part for me. I've written it down. There's a paragraph on it, floating about the internet. But essentially, the plot is about this young woman who goes through this traumatic experience, and she discovers these old records, these horror story, scary sound effects records that she used to listen to with her father, her late father. So she starts listening to them again and becomes slightly obsessed with them. And they start sort of talking to her and sort of infecting her life and giving her information about crimes in the neighborhood and very personal information about her. So it gets weird until the stories become sort of like this infection, and they start to manipulate other things around her. So that's the gist of it. I mean, it's sort of a Valentine to scary story records from my youth, the kind that I used to listen to, Boris Karloff and Vincent Price. And
Right.
it all started with the What If. I love a certain kind of horror film from the 70s. And I found a blog over a decade ago that was a music sharing blog, where this guy just sort of uploaded, dozens of old Scary Story vinyl records. So I got obsessed with them.
Yeah.
And then started doing the what if of, well, what if someone became obsessed with these stories, or the story started talking to a person, and what if it went on a tangent like that? So answering a question that you didn't ask, but that was sort of the story behind
Yeah.
my
No, I
thinking
like that.
behind it.
No, that's great. I that would have led into another question down the road, like, where did this idea come from? So that's excellent. Yeah, no, I thought the movie was really good. I really like the use of sound. I really like the way that you use the records in there, and the use of sound in general.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's the sound itself is a character, and
yeah,
my creative partner Andrew Jones, he's the only reason why I was able to make this movie, because I knew that if I were to make it on my own, I would have to, the sound is an actual character. So
right,
I can't write music, audio is not really my thing. So as soon as I met Andy, who is this very accomplished musician, as well as a writer, a great writer as well. And he was into, all the Scary Records stuff that I was
right,
interested in as well. I knew that I would be able to write a script, and possibly make a movie.
yeah,
So yeah, the audio is a character, and he did a fantastic job. I mean,
oh yeah,
it was a real thrill to be able to sit in a room with Andy and his musicians. He got some musicians involved in it. Watch the footage, and then watch him create with these musicians, just the music,
right,
just
yeah,
okay, here's a thought. Here's you'd throw out something like, okay, in this scene, this sounds a little bit like Goblin. Immediately, it's this rock Goblin thing. It was incredible to be in that room with them. Moments seeing this movie, like, oh my God, this is happening, and this is pretty incredible, for no money.
right,
Just a lot of passionate people. So yeah, thank you. The sound is in this movie is everything, and
oh yeah,
that's all because of Andrew Jones, who is also a really great musician. I mean, he has several albums out as well, and a new one coming out soon. So a new EP, I think, coming out soon.
yeah,
So.
yeah. No, I enjoyed that. Like, I have a a small surround sound system in here, so it was nice to have that. When the records play, it kind of envelops you as the audience as well. It kind of puts you in that. It kind of feels like it puts you in the movie in a way, like you're almost listening to it. I mean, because you are listening to it, but it almost feels like you're listening to it like she's listening to it, like through headphones, or right in the room with her. So I thought that was a neat, interesting touch about how the sound overtakes, like the sound of the record kind of overtakes everything else, like it overtakes her in the movie. So
right. Well, that's good to hear. I've not had a lot of conversations with people who are not related to me, or who made the film, who have seen the film,
right.
who kind of who get it, because this movie's been in my head for several years, and so I knew it was a little weird anyway. So to hear that, that means everything. So that was on some level successful, because writing a script is one thing, but I knew, because I've made a lot of films. I have a filmmaking background. I knew that this would be a hard sell, because It's not an anthology movie. It's not a bunch
Right.
of different stories.
Right.
It's stories that our protagonist is listening to
Right.
and kind sometimes, you know. So
Right.
I didn't know if that would be visually interesting, you know, engaging to an audience. So I am
Right.
hopeful that it was at least, you know, how we were able to um, convey that. And then Bridie, the young actress in my film, Bridie Marie Corbett, she's so good in it.
Yes.
And
Yeah, I thought she was
I
very
follow
excellent in
her.
it.
You know, I want to follow her on screen, and so it's, you know, her selling it. You know, we're
Right.
watching her listening to a story, and how engaging
Right.
is that? I think we were able to like make it interesting.
Yeah.
So it's great
Yeah.
to hear that. So
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought the you know, this movie for sure, like this isn't typically a movie that appeals to me because I'm not usually the kind of audience for a more I guess this deals more in oh my gosh. I'm trying to think of how it is.
it's more of
It
an internal, more of a psychological thing. It's a slow burn, definitely.
yeah,
So
and it's
there's
also
not
very like hallucinogenic, kind of like psychedelic, like not necessarily like that, but you know, it has a dreamlike quality to it. Um
right.
and usually
Gotcha.
that's not my kind of thing so much, but I liked how this was done, and I liked how, like I said, like with the sound design and the music and everything, that it lent itself a little bit more um than it normally would have for me, for sure.
Oh, well, good. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, but I completely understand, and I appreciate your honesty too. I mean, so, you
Yeah,
know, there are many different flavors of horror, you know.
exactly.
So it's like sometimes, you know, it's not your flavor, you know, but I appreciate you, you know, watching it, and you're able to like,
Yeah,
you know, appreciate, you know, certain aspects of it, and you went along for the ride.
absolutely.
So, you know,
Yeah.
that's good. But yeah, I mean, yeah, and horror fans are a very passionate lot, I
Oh
have
yes.
found. So yeah, they either really like it sometimes or they really do not.
Yeah.
So, and they're gonna tell you too. So that's the thing, you know, I've been living with this movie for so long, and it's finally, you know, we had this really long post-production. So now it's finally going to be out there, and it's like after every struggle, you know, that we've had, like to
Right.
reach, you know, specific goals, it's like, okay, now the movie's finished. Okay, now, you know, now we need to find a distributor. Now we've got a distributor. It's like, okay, now people are going to be watching it.
Right.
You know, it's like,
Yeah.
can we take a breath? No, because people are gonna will have to have their say, you know. And
Yeah.
so I would be lying if I
Absolutely.
said I would not be reading reviews. I'm gonna, you know, read. I will want to know what people have to say about this
Right.
project that I've been working on for years. So
Yeah.
you know,
I
that's
think
another thing.
yeah, I think reading reviews is one of those things where I think it's really hard. Like I don't understand how people cannot read reviews, because I mean I would have to try to take them with a grain of salt and understand that this isn't going to be for everybody, you know, given whatever project it is. You know, there's always going to be
Right.
something that just isn't going to hit for a lot of people. Look at Halloween Ends recently. That movie's very divisive, and but
Absolutely. It's very much so. And
yeah,
that's one of the reasons why I brought that up, because I was one of the few people who loved it, absolutely loved it.
I enjoyed
And
it. Yeah.
you know, I went on Twitter and I was just, you know, all I said was, I'm not on Twitter a lot. You know, Twitter is
Right.
toxic, really, you know,
Yeah,
but you
it can
can't
be.
not
Yeah.
be on it if you're selling something. So I would
Yeah.
just, you know, thanking the people who made the movie. My girl, Jamie, it's like, thank you, you know, loved it. And then there are all these flies, you know, the people that I don't know will never know, but saying really nasty things to me personally,
Yeah.
you know, conversation with you about it. But you know, it's not a conversation to just who agree with you, you
Yes.
know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a strange thing. But I
No,
love
yeah.
discussing horror films.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing too. Is like for me as a fan of horror, as a fan of film in general and everything, I know that I'm not always going to agree with people. I have very strong opinions about movies that I feel are that I don't like personally, that I can understand why people do like them. Like I'm not a big fan of The Exorcist or The Shining. People love those movies and they're hailed as some of the best horror movies of all time. And I get it. They were for their time period, you know, and after that, people have found new appreciation for them, whatever. There's aspects of those movies that I just do not enjoy, and that's what keeps me from enjoying them as a fan of that. uh but that doesn't but I think that's where we can have that kind of discussion and enjoy talking about stuff, because it doesn't always have to be, we don't always have to all love the same thing. And and that's what is cool about talking to people about stuff too, as well, is if you can put your ego aside and say, just because they don't like something that I like doesn't mean that it's a bad movie, or they don't like me as a person
Absolutely.
or whatever. It's
Right.
just, let's have a discussion about movies in general. What don't I like? What don't you like? Whatever. And sometimes I can be as you've listened to on my show with Preston, that that first episode we did, there were a couple of movies that I had no clue about when I first watched them, and they didn't do a whole lot for me, but having a good discussion about them opened it up a little bit more for me in terms of their value. And so that's what I enjoy with this. And I think that's what's unique about movies in general, is that you can have these conversations, and you should have these conversations, and stop being so nitpicky about everything that you like, just because you didn't like Halloween because it didn't fit what you wanted. Because that's largely what I've heard from people, is that Halloween Ends wasn't what they wanted. They wanted the big
Right.
knockdown, drag out fight between Michael and Laurie. And I'm sorry, we already had that with Halloween 2018. We had that. That's
Right.
what you got. You had that movie. They want to do something different. They didn't want to do the same thing they already did in that first movie they did. So they wanted to do something that was more contemplative and more deep than just the same old crap. So yeah, I enjoyed this Halloween trilogy as a whole. And I think that's what's great. And going back to your movie, whether people like it or not, I think that that it'll be interesting to see what people have to say about it, as long as people are respectful about it as well.
Right.
And I think
Right.
it's
With that
very hard
caveat.
to, yeah. And I think it's very hard to get away from looking at reviews, especially when you put your passion and your time and effort into something like this, that you're gonna want to know if it's connecting with people and what didn't connect with people. And so
Oh,
that's it's gonna be,
absolutely.
yeah,
Right. Right.
yeah,
When actors say they don't read reviews, I don't believe
right.
them.
I don't either.
I mean, you hear that a lot from actors. It's like, well, I don't
Yeah.
read. It's like, I doubt that,
Yeah. I don't think
because
they read all the reviews, but they read some of them. Come on.
right, right, right. I mean, you can't spend all this time on a project and not be curious as to what
Yeah,
people think about it. So, but
absolutely.
yeah, I'm right there with you. And as far as The Shining is concerned, I had the same, it's the same kind of reaction. I saw it when it came out. It's like I'm not.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw it when it came out. Nobody liked The Shining when it came out. Didn't like
Nobody
The
did
Shining. I still
it.
don't connect with it. But I
Yeah.
get that people have come around and they love that movie and it's great and
Yeah.
I don't mind discussing it. But it's not.
Right.
So yeah, there are lots of films like that
Yeah,
I love talking
absolutely.
about.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
as long as
No, and
it's
that's why I
a
started the
friendly
show, was to talk to
conversation.
people. Yeah. That's what I started the show for, was to talk to people. And I don't want people who are
Love
always
that.
going to agree with me and be all like, oh yeah, we all love the same movie, blah, blah, blah. And that's great. And that's fun that we can sit there and talk about the things that we like about it. But I like when there's, maybe a little, not like friction, but I like a little disagreement on what there is that people can, what people like and dislike about a certain movie or whatever. So
Yeah, a healthy discussion about
yeah,
the film. Yeah,
absolutely. But
it's
yeah,
for me.
I think that your movie's interesting enough that you will probably get some good discussion about it. What works, what doesn't work. And that's a thing with with low budget too as well, that it's really, when it comes down to, with a low budget film like this, that you're going to have to figure out what actually worked, and have that discussion with people and see what worked, and what you can do to maybe in the future, not just you but anybody, take what they think worked well and use that for something in the future. So
Oh, right. Yeah, I mean, I'm believe me, I'm taking notes. I've already started writing the next film, but yeah, I mean, and I learned a lot from this one. So yeah, taking notes. What did we get away with? And what is the audience responding to? Because
absolutely,
it's not healthy to live in a bubble and to just not listen to anybody. So
right.
yeah, I'm taking notes, and I'm hoping that the next one will be even bigger in scope, and we'll have
Right.
we'll maybe reach a bigger audience too. So
Right. Yeah. Did you take this film to any film festivals or anything like that?
It's funny because when the film was finished, I did
Right.
everything that you need to do, and I went to a couple. I did go to a couple, but the thing about film festivals is that it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
You don't just enter a film. I mean, you've got to pay fees, and the
Right.
larger, the more high profile the film festival, the more expensive it is. I mean, if it's worth anything. I mean, there are lots of film festivals out there, but the few that I targeted were legitimate festivals that I'd heard about, and were in areas that I knew I would be able to travel to, or that someone in the film would be able to go to, because it's not in this era of film, especially low budget film, and even in the last 2 years, I don't know how successful a film festival can I need to reword this. I don't know how important a film festival is,
Right.
ultimately to the success of your film. A film festival, as far as I'm concerned, is more about being there and interacting with other filmmakers, making connections, because you've got to pay for the film, and if they agree to show it, that's how many people are in that audience, and what is the exposure ultimately, because depending on the film festival, you might have maybe a dozen people there, maybe a couple hundred there, you just don't know. So I did enter a few festivals. I they weren't interested, but I was strategic about it because there was no distribution behind it. It's all me. I produced this film. I co-produced it actually with Lloyd Cryer, the head of Texas Frightmare Weekend, the creator of Texas Frightmare Weekend. He fell in love with the script and wanted to help me with it. But it's just a couple of schmoes, putting a film out there. I mean, self-financed. So there weren't a lot of opportunities unless I had paid for them. You can four-wall it, you money to throw at this film that I truly believe in. But after finding the distribution company, I was sort of like, this is it. They see something in it that's valid. So I'm going to have to trust that they will find the audience. So I know that's a long-winded answer. But film
No,
festivals,
that's interesting.
I
Yeah.
think film festivals are still a valid option,
Right. But you got to
you
have the
have to
money
be
behind it to do it. Yeah.
right. You've got to really think about where your money is going, and
Right.
smart ways of spending it. And so, after the 4 or 5 that I you know uh, tried to get my film into, I decided, no, that's not the best way to spend the money that I don't have. So
Right.
we had a screening at Texas Frightmare Weekend, and
Right.
a
That
couple
makes
hundred
sense.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a couple hundred people were there, and I was very happy with that.
Okay. Did you get
And
good
I was
audience
like,
reaction to that?
we did. People
Good.
that I
Yeah.
didn't know actually stuck around, and they wanted to know when the soundtrack was coming out, things like that.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so it was more than just
Yeah,
the
that's where I was
cast
going with the
family.
question.
And
Was I wanted to see what like audience reaction prior to release was. So yeah.
no, there were some really positive reactions. I mean, the people who, I'm sure there were people who didn't like it, but they didn't stick around to tell me so.
Right.
They didn't
Yeah.
stick around for the Q&A.
Yeah.
So yeah, there were some people who had no ties to me whatsoever, who saw the film, and they were, they genuinely enjoyed it, and they had smart
That's
questions
good.
about it. And so that was nice. It was a nice exchange. So
Good.
so yeah, we did have one public screening, and it was at Texas Frightmare Weekend, and that was cool. It was a cool opportunity. But Lloyd was involved in that decision.
Right.
It was lovely to have that.
Right.
But no, we haven't really had a festival screening of it, and I doubt that there will be.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So what formats is it going to be released on December 13th? Just DVD, Blu-ray. Is
well,
it getting a VOD release?
Bayview's putting it. Well, they're putting it on Blu-ray.
Okay.
And it's Blu-ray and streaming. It's a
Okay.
video VOD on demand. So, but I don't know what those platforms are yet. Like I said, it's kind of foggy. It's sort of like, I don't know, where you'll be able to stream it. It's VOD, so that's video on demand. So I guess it's
I'm assuming it would be in
you've got to
most
rent
of the
it.
major ones.
It's
Yeah.
a rental thing. So I don't know. And that's terrible for me to be on your show and not know. But I don't know. I mean, I haven't been given a lot of information as far as that's concerned. So, but I do want to say that the distributor that I have been working with, Bayview Entertainment, they've been solid. Everything that they've said they would do, they've done. They paid a little bit for the film.
That's good.
Yeah, that is good, because everything that I've heard from, filmmakers in a similar situation, they've had really bad experiences. So
with other distributors. Yeah.
Correct. Right. And I won't name any, but I have a whole list of distributors that, have not paid them.
I just wanted to clarify that other people didn't have problems with Bayview themselves, that that they had problems with other distributors.
Right. That's correct. No. I mean, I did some research on it. I mean, I wasn't just,
that's good. Yeah.
So they've been they've been solid.
That's awesome. So will the Blu-ray have any special features or anything on it as well?
Well, you would not be surprised to find out that I don't know. I don't know. I hope at least the trailer that I edited, but no, we've not been asked to participate in anything. So
no.
I guess at this point it's just the no.
All right.
But
I had to ask. I'm a fan of
just the movie.
Features, so yeah,
I am too, and a fan of physical media. So
yes,
I still have my wall of Blu-rays and special editions, and my 12 versions of Halloween and Evil Dead, and
Oh, I feel you on the Evil Dead.
They'll come out with the new one, I'm sure, next month, and it's like, well, we've got the one new thing here that you gotta have. So
yeah,
they know us,
Yeah. Evil Dead is one of the worst ones too. Like Halloween's coming up on it too, because I've seen that. There's so many different versions of Halloween, but Evil Dead seems to take the cake on that.
Yeah,
Every
just
little
hate
special
that.
feature that they can do, they add. They go, okay, here's a new edition. It's only got one extra special feature, but okay. So
Yeah, they know us. They
yeah,
know we'll be there.
I just recently
So
upgraded
yeah,
all of my Evil Dead collection to 4K. So and my Halloween
because you
collection. So
because you got to do that too. You got to do
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So
I'm trying to future
yeah.
proof my collection. Like once I have everything on 4K, that's it. It's done. Like it can't possibly get any better than
Oh
4K.
yeah, you just keep telling yourself that
I
there'll be
know.
a new piece of technology, in a couple months, and it's like, well,
Yeah,
okay, so
yeah,
you gotta have the Evil
yeah.
Dead trilogy on that as well. So
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Evil Dead is my favorite franchise, so that'll definitely be the one that'll be I will get in pretty much any edition. So,
well, they know they've got us. So
oh yeah, absolutely.
but
So
yeah,
yeah,
it's coming out on Blu-ray, and I hopefully there'll be at least a trailer on there.
yeah, 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 hopefully.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. So, is there anything else you want to tell the audience about the movie specifically, or the release?
um, only that it was really charmed. The film itself was charmed, and the making of it
Yeah.
um was such a great experience, and so many random connections to Dallas horror. Dallas has a history of terrific little no budget horror films, from the
Awesome.
60s through I guess what, early 90s maybe. But AIP did all those bad TV movies. My neighbor was in The Eye Creatures, this AIP movie that Larry Buchanan made. We used her house for one of the exteriors. S.F. Brownrigg was a huge influence on my work, and his son, who is also a terrific filmmaker, Anthony Brownrigg, he helped me greatly with the post production.
Awesome.
I've got the "Don't Look in the Basement" one sheet in my office. So lots of really great energy, and just interesting connections that were made. Angie Bowling is a good friend of mine. A lot of really interesting films. She contributed to a lot of the voice work. She's the voice of the movie, essentially.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So lots of cool Dallas connections, and
Right.
so no, nothing other than I'm very proud of the film. We were able to accomplish a lot with not a lot of money, and just I'm anxious for people. Not anxious is the wrong word. I am excited for people to actually
There you
see
go.
it, because there's some good work in it. There's some.
Yeah.
Um, I'm biased. I'm happy with the film, but I
Right.
I do know I can say that there's some really good acting in it. There's some really
Oh,
great music, and just really good energy involved in it. So
yeah.
I'm hoping that it will reach a wider audience, and that people will see it and appreciate it.
Yeah, I think Bridie is definitely one of the best actors in there. She's doing a really good job in it, um, and it made me want to. I've had the skeleton hand gloves in the past. It makes me really want to go get some more.
Oh, you definitely should. They bestow special powers onto you. I wear them. I wear them to work. I drive in them. So yeah. But Bridie is sensational in it, and
Yes.
I feel so lucky to have been able to work with her, and I hopefully we can work together again.
Yeah. Um, I did enjoy the little bit of Udo Kier in the beginning, uh,
Yeah,
as
that
well.
was really, really weird, because as I was writing the script, I mean, he was the first person who came to mind. I knew that getting him, might not work out, But in my mind, I was thinking he would be really cool. He is an iconic personality, and he
Yes.
has that voice.
Yes.
Other than Udo Kier, I'm not familiar with a lot of voice talent,
Right.
but the thinking behind that particular voiceover in that album was, like Vincent Price and Boris Karloff and all those
Yeah.
spoken word albums that they did.
Yeah.
So
Get somebody who's a horror icon.
that's
Yeah.
why it was so wacky to get him. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it was amazing to be able to work with him and actually hear him say those lines that I wrote, thinking, of his voice as I was writing it. That was wow.
That's awesome.
So many moments like that. Yeah. So to have him do the introduction, that was that really sets the scene.
Sets the
And
tone.
Yeah. Felt very fortunate to get him on board. And we got him, I mean, because of Lloyd Cryer and Lloyd's connections. And
right.
So yeah, that was definitely a high point in the production. Awesome. To get him.
Yeah. Well, I think that anybody who's interested, I will make sure to link the trailer and for the movie so that people can take a look at it. And so anybody who's interested in that should definitely check it out when it comes out on December 13th.
December 13th. Yeah. Well, thank you. I mean, so much for, helping
thank you so
me
much for coming on.
Movie up. I really appreciate it. And
yeah. I think everybody who likes that kind of like you said, that Halloween spooky stories albums of the past will enjoy this. And like I said, the sound design on this was really well done, and that was a highlight for me. So I think that'll be anybody who's interested in that kind of stuff and in low budget features as well should definitely go ahead and check this out.
This was a not only was it a love letter to that kind of storytelling, those old records, but it was I'm not a monster kid, but I consider myself to be a Fangoria kid.
Okay.
From 79. And that's a very specific distinction. Fangoria from 1979. That flavor. And that's what this movie is. It's a movie that can't, that for me felt like it could have been made in the late 70s, and it would have been something that particular era of the magazine would have covered, So just to, include that in the conversation. If you are a Fangoria kid from the late 70s, I think you would appreciate this because you were going to the drive-in, along with me. We were all at the drive-in. And at that point in time, a horror movie could have been anything. It wasn't a slasher movie. It could have been anything. Phantasm was anything, and it was incredible. So, that's also the mindset. Horror movies from the late 70s that could have been anything and are interesting and weird, and don't follow a specific formula. Yeah. So anyway,
well, I think and I think that's actually kind of good. You're kind of hitting in a good time period right now because horror is kind of ratcheting back towards that a little bit too. There's so many different kinds of horror movies out there now, and we've seen it, especially this year. There's been so many different fun horror movies that are in so many different genres. Like it's not just slashers or monsters or whatever. You have the slow burns, you have the creepy houses and the hauntings, and just everything is out there again now. So this definitely is a great time to have this movie come out because I think it could find a decent audience.
I am hopeful. But yeah, I completely agree with you. Right now, horror is seeing sort of a resurgence and, originality,
Yes, so absolutely.
That's always good to see.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for coming on. Everybody should definitely go check this out when it comes on.
Thank you so much for having me. And I look forward to, the next steps with this film. And hopefully you'll have me on again when I have another movie to talk about.
Absolutely.
So, or not. Maybe we'll just talk about movies, which I love to do as well.
I can have you on. And we'll talk a double feature anytime.
I would love that. That would be terrific.
Right.
Okay.
Hopefully Zoom will behave better the next time.
Hopefully.
Thanks again to Bradley for joining me and putting up with my technical difficulties. Please make sure to check out 13 Tracks to Frighten Agatha Black when it comes out this next Tuesday, December 13th. I will link the trailer in the show notes as well. Thanks for listening. If you liked what you heard, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or at creepyandgeeky.com. You can follow the podcast on social media at Creepy and Geeky on both Twitter and Instagram. If you'd like to follow me, I'm Geek Thulu on Twitter and geek.thulu on Instagram. You can support the podcast by ordering teas and more from our TeePublic page. All of the links are in the show notes. Finally, don't forget, stay creepy.